This is Act and Analyze with Maggie and Tyler. We are two best friends.
I'm an actress.
And I'm a therapist.
In Act and Analyze, you will hear us discuss all things within media and our daily lives while relating it to our lovely guests.
We want to have fun, but also learn along the way.
Everywhere around us is media. We just want to know, what type of media helps you, or infuriates you, or makes you feel good?
We want to grow with you and leave you all feeling better than how we found you.
Welcome to Act and Analyze.
Hi, Maggie.
Hey, Tyler. Hello from across the way.
I know.
I miss you.
Just without touching hands.
Touching hands. Hold my hand.
Yeah, we're not together this episode.
Yeah,
together.
I'm really sad about it.
Me too.
It's okay because we have a really fun episode.
Yeah.
We're going to be switching it up here on the Act and Analyze with Maggie and Tyler pod. We're going to be diving in, taking a deep dive into our two favorite shows. We both have a lot of favorite shows. So these are just one of them. So we want to analyze and see what we find from each of these shows that we have. This is called
the Act and Analyze moment.
The moment. It's a moment to act and analyze. So we're going to take a deep dive into our favorite shows and what they do to our mental health, how their mental health is affected within them, how the actors respond to one another, how they relate to one another. We have two great shows for you. I'm gonna let Tyler, you tell me your show, and we're gonna go from there. I'm excited to chat.
Okay, yes, I'm so excited for us to do this little segment. It's our first time besides like our first intro episode where it's just you and I.
I know.
And
oh, great.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited for this moment, this segment, for the two of us to deep dive into our favorite shows and just have you and I chat. So, okay, my all-time favorite show, comfort show I watch to make me cry, show I watch to make me feel empowered, show I watch to just feel something, to escape all of it. It brings me everything, is Pose on FX.
Yes.
It is beautiful. It's a masterpiece to me. Like I can rewatch it over and over and over and over again and get the same feeling from it each time. It's just the most beautiful show in the world to me. It brings fashion, it brings emotion. It's the relationships in it are beautiful, the character development, the identity development, just the music, like the dancing, just it takes place in New York City in the 80s. So like that's just a moment in itself. Right?
Yeah, no. Literally.
It talks about the experience of marginalized communities, specifically people of color in the LGBTQ community. It just centers around so many important things and relationships and family and love and friendship. And it's just literally the best show ever.
It's beautiful.
In my opinion.
That show specifically really made me just absolutely just like have an infinity towards New York. And I do also think like the joy in having a chosen family is so important. And that's like one of the main themes of that show, of how you can choose your family. And that's one of my biggest takeaways from that show. I think that show really taught me that like chosen families are a necessity for people. They're what you need and love, and like
Yeah.
I really admire that show for showing me that.
Yeah, I'll give a brief synopsis of what the show's about, just in case some of our listeners haven't seen it.
Yes.
So it takes place in the 80s in New York City, and it's based around the LGBTQIA community. And it is during the AIDS epidemic. So that is a big topic surrounding the show. But basically, the characters are mostly young, late teens, early 20s people in the LGBTQIA community. A lot of the characters are transgender who have been excommunicated from their biological families. So they go to New York City to seek acceptance, to seek safety, to start a new life. And a lot of them at that time worked the piers of New York City as sex workers, and that was like the way they were trying to make a life in New York City. So, and this still happens today, but there's like house mothers or house fathers that take in these young individuals and take them in and give them shelter and give them a family and give them a home and acceptance. And usually the house mothers or fathers are they're also in the LGBTQIA community. And basically they bring these individuals in and they start their own family. And in Pose specifically, each of the houses participate in ballroom. And ballroom culture is such a huge part of the LGBTQIA community, especially during this time. So everyone in the show participates in ballroom. So what that means is there's theme nights, and they dress up in gorgeous outfits, and they do runway, and they do dances, and they do posing and voguing, and it's just like a beautiful celebration of acceptance. And like if anyone's seen like Paris is Falling, like that's all about ballroom culture in the 80s, and it's like an actual documentary about that. So yeah, that's basically the synopsis of Pose. But through that, you see relationships forming, you see conflict that arises, and there's also, like I said, the AIDS epidemic going on. So you're seeing some characters who are dying of AIDS or struggling with AIDS, and it's just so beautiful, like just the entire storyline, and real.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. My favorite relationships is Angel and Poppy's relationship. I just thought was so beautiful. Oh my gosh. And just like their development in their relationship is gorgeous. Poppy is a queer man, and Angel is a transgender woman, and they just formed such a beautiful relationship. And then like I love Damon and Ricky as well, their relationship. Blanca and Electra, just how, Electra was Blanca's mother, but then Blanca and Electra kind of just had conflict, and Blanca started her own house, and just the way that over time, like their relationship just develops to instead of like mother-daughter, it's like mother and mother, and they see eye to eye, and it's just like their way of being mothers is such different styles, but they come together, and just like they both are there for the same reason and have the same passion. And then also Billy Porter's character, Pretel, and Blanca, like their friendship is
Their
so
friendship
beautiful.
is the best.
Yeah, their friendship is so beautiful. And then just all of them all together, just like all the women like together and just how they empower one another. But then like during ballroom when there's competition, like they're like bitchy to each other, but that's like the fun of it. But yeah, though that's definitely my favorite relationships.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, I really do think that this is a Ryan Murphy produced series.
Yes, it is.
So it's so interesting because it's also so different too from the series he has created in the past, like Glee, American Horror Story, Nurse Ratched, and all that. Like, I think like that this series specifically has the most heart and the most like power to it. Like, I think there's so many people. You really see like the depth and the layers to paving the way for yourself, like, and paving the way for the people you love, and it's all coming from, and like you see so many complicated relationships and so many real relationships. I do like, so like Billy Porter is so mesmerizing in his performance. Like, he's so passionate for these people, like, and for like his friends and his families, and he cares so deeply, and so does Blanca. Like, she is, you see her confidence ebb and flow, and you see her the struggle that she has with herself, and her like, and you see the struggle that she has with her friends, and then her kids, like, that she takes in, and like just everyone, and her best friend who's like was her mother. Like, I feel like with Ryan Murphy there's always this level of camp to his series that he brings. In this series though, I really don't believe like there's like nearly, like, I don't think there's camp in it. I think it's just like raw, and like we're focusing in on life.
From what I know too about the series, and I don't know, I might be wrong about this, but I think after the first episode, like the pilot episode, they brought Jeanette Mock in, who is a trans woman, a director, producer.
Yeah.
And so Ryan Murphy, or like the production, brought her in. And then you can really tell, like, I mean, the first episode's incredible, but then you kind of see like the switch where it is coming from a person in the community's voice and experiences as well. Which I found, and I think that's what makes a difference between maybe Glee or American Horror Story or Nurse Ratched or any of those other shows that he produced. Yeah, and then she was there from then on.
Yes.
And you can see that in the next seasons. And like with Billy Porter, he was there. Like, he lived it in the 80s. Like, he was experiencing it. He was watching friends die from AIDS. He was,
he was in Greece around that time in the 80s. Yeah. That was one of his first roles. He was beauty school dropout.
Yeah.
Graduation day. Have you ever seen that performance?
No, I need to see that performance.
I've watched it so many times, and it's crazy. Like, young Billy Porter's just like incredible. Always has been like there. But you're so right. He lived through it. He experienced it. I also feel like a lot of people in the cast probably did as well. Like, I'm sure MJ Rodriguez like experienced. I don't know where she's from. Like, but yeah, I mean, like, yeah, Billy definitely saw it firsthand. You're so right. And you see it in the show. Like, he gives the performance of a lifetime. Like, there's just no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But all of them do. All of them do.
Like,
they put their heart into. Yes. She's flawless.
Yes. Yeah, they're incredible. And then Dominique Jackson, stunning, amazing, just all of them. So good. So good. But yeah, like, just, like, the psychology behind the show is very much like, it does not shy away from the psychological impact of discrimination as a whole, and rejection, and all of those things that comes with the experiences that people in the LGBTQIA community face every day. Like, this show does such a good job at representing just the psychological impact of that. And the way that it shows how people are affected by multiple forms of marginalization. Low income people of color, people in the LGBTQIA community, gender discrimination, all of it. Sex workers, like how sex workers experience discrimination and marginalization. And then just how it talks about resilience and using self-expression as a way of being resilient, and instead, like, just to empower themselves through dance, through voguing, through the way they dress, just like the way the competitions and everything. Singing, just like the way they're able to use creative expression as a way of resilience, and just like saying fuck you to standards, and but also it does show like how discrimination and marginalization does impact them at the same time.
And like on all levels. Like, I always some of the scenes that specifically stick out to me in that show are in a lot of the scenes with the nurse. It just shows, I mean, and it's what we're going through with our healthcare system still to this day. Like, people have to hide when they get an abortion. Like, there has to be secret nurses and secret doctors that are doing this. So sad that this is still happening. The nurse formed like this group of doctors, this group of nurses to help like the LGBTQAI community like get through this. Like, and how dare the United States like turn a blind eye when you see people struggling and suffering through this, and like when healthcare is just like a human right, like literally just getting proper healthcare is a human right, and they like were not able to, like, because of their sexuality and how they identified. It's awful. It's awful. Like, that is something that, like, from watching that show, like, will forever stick with me. I commend the actors too, because I cannot imagine as like an actor who has like lived through that and have seen friends like go through that to then act in that. Like, it had to be hard. It had to be hard,
Yeah, and it shows medical discrimination and lack of resources, and within healthcare, being someone who is an outsider who has viewpoints that are not with maybe the mainstream medical world, like the nurse in the show. And stepping outside the lines and helping these people and being a safe space for them instead of just judging them. And overall, the themes of the show is trauma and its resilience, and it's just like overall just them trying to search for acceptance and love. And it's about community and support, and chosen families, and just the bonds formed within ballroom community. And yeah, so that's Pose. I do want to read, like, there's this one article from the Guardian.
Yes.
And the title is "It Made My Walk a Little Taller: The Inspiring LGBTQ Legacy of Pose," which, like, I was like, yeah, this article is it. Like, it does make you feel like you can walk a little taller. Like, that's exactly how I feel watching it. One of the actors in Pose said, "I'm so thankful that I was chosen for Pose because it liberated me. It made my walk a little taller. I found myself even more, and I'm more aware and informed. I'm also very honored and privileged to be a part of this community. Pose has shown us that love of self and love of others is the foundation of our legacy in this unpredictable world." And I feel like that is just like a perfect way to summarize the show.
Yeah.
And the meaning behind the show.
Yeah. I feel like also as just a viewer watching it, you know, like if you're going through a hard time and, you know, you need something empowering and something to give you resilience, like this is the show, like, to watch and stuff. And I also think there's just so much to learn from it. And
so much to learn.
How do you feel you as like a therapist likes this show so much? Yeah.
Yeah, I think, like, as a therapist, I love this show because it's taught me so much. It's taught me so much about this community of people, LGBTQ people and people of color, and that I wouldn't have known as much. Like, I learned, like, throughout life, but this really gave such a real view of it. So I think it's helped me grow as just like a more inclusive and more educated therapist. And that's just the type of environment I like to cultivate as a therapist. It's also taught me empowerment and self-acceptance. And I think, and that's also something I like to instill into my clients. Like the idea of radical self-acceptance, which is, like, very important to me also to cultivate into my clients. I think all the characters are like that. Like, they're just the radical self-acceptance, even though the world is against them.
Yes.
And just choosing to express yourself unapologetically. Obviously, they do that in a more safe environment, which, like, you have to consider as well. But yeah, I think just, the overall, also just connections, the way the connections are, how biological family is sometimes just a label, and chosen family is just as important, and friendships and all of that are just as important. And if you're not getting what you deserve from biological family, it's okay to search it in a chosen family who are going to see you and accept you and love you and make you feel safe. So all of those things are why, as a therapist, I love it. And I've recommended it to clients before.
Yes. Yes, that's incredible. That's amazing. Yeah, something that I specifically think is so beautiful about the acting in the show is that when you're performing, there's something so beautiful about your best actor is bringing yourself to the role. Like, what makes you the most interesting character is, like, you. There's nothing else, you know? And I think each character brings themselves to the role in some way or another. You could just see through their eyes, through their actions, through their objectives, through their wants. Like, they've felt this before. And that's something that I've always loved from this show, is watching the actors really flourish and like their character develop and grow and have so many layers. So yeah, I've always admired the actors in this show.
Yes, me too.
Oh, also Patti LuPone is in this, so you definitely don't want to miss it for that reason.
Exactly. Exactly. So true. Yeah, but no, I definitely agree with you that like you can just tell, just like the environment that they cultivated for the actors, that it's just like show up as you and just be free and live your truth through the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Pose. Maggie, what do you want to bring to the moment? What is your all-time favorite show?
I'm bringing to the moment just a story, a show about elitism, about the 1%, about family money, about family drama, about a family that actually probably should be going out and finding a chosen family because they're so toxic for one another. It's called Succession, another New York show, based in New York. I had trouble liking this show because I didn't know how I felt about, a show about the 1%, right? I like, it's hard, to empathize with the characters, but I do have to say what makes it so good is the writing and the actors and like the storylines throughout. I have so many favorite shows, but this is one specifically that I would literally could not wait every Sunday for it to come out. The comedy in it, it's a really it's written actually by Jeremy Jesse Armstrong, and then he's actually British, and he kind of wrote it about his kind of commentary on like the 1% in America. So it's not based off of, but it's inspired by the owner of Fox News. I think it's his name is Robert Murdaugh or something. I know his last name's Murdaugh, but super rich guy. It's been in the family. Fox News has been in the family forever. And he's like 96 and still is the CEO of like Fox News and Fox News Media. So the main character is Logan Roy. And he is this older man who owns Waystar. And it's just about where the company's going to go. They kind of jump you in with the first episode because he gets really sick on an airplane and think he's going to die. The way that it's shot is visually so stunning. It really shows the struggle of each of the children. All the kids are in age between like 28, I would say, to like 45. And it's kind of like, who is Logan gonna give the company to? Is it gonna be Kendall, who is the oldest son, who is a little like mentally unstable because of kind of all the trauma he's been through with his dad? And like, you can tell there's so many layers to him. I mean, he's played by Jeremy Strong, who's an incredible actor. He's inspired, like his kind of mentor was Daniel Day-Lewis in Lincoln. He actually started off as his assistant and just learned from him. He's a method actor. which is very interesting. A lot of interviews of the other cast members on set said that like when he was Kendall like all the time. So that was that's kind of crazy to be like that. Yeah, I don't agree with that way of acting and that way of being, but I mean, he put on a good fucking character and he did a fucking great job as that part.
Wow.
Because he was so seriously committed to it. Like, it was crazy. So he's the oldest son, and he's divorced. He has 2 kids. And kind of his life goal is to be the next head of Waystar. It's all he cares about. It's all he can think about. It's just
Kendall.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then there's Shiv. She's the only female. And she's one of my favorite characters. I think she's so complicated because she's like the only woman that is like handed this company. But a lot of like why they aren't handing the company to her is because she is a woman. And like that. And so she's married to Tom, and they have a very complicated relationship. Tom is a pussy. That's what she calls him. She's like, she has Tom wrapped around his finger, and she's just very, very strong-willed because she comes from this crazy family, this crazy rich family. And in her eyes, Tom isn't coming from that. Even though Tom is probably coming from the super, super upper class, he's not coming from like the 1%. Like, they're on another level of rich that is almost unfathomable. Like, it's unrealistic almost in a way. There is one of my favorite characters, Roman, who's played by Kieran Culkin. And he's the youngest son, or he's the middle. I think he's the youngest. But he's incredible. He's a horn dog. He is just a player. He comes up with the wittiest like comments to his siblings. Like, he's teasing them constantly. He has a crazy relationship with Logan's assistant, who's this older woman, Jerry. And she's also like, she gets potentially put in line to like get the Waystar company. It's just like all about like who's gonna get this next. It's all about power. It's all about power. You know, it shows. The reason why I picked this is because it shows like that power doesn't equal happiness. Money doesn't equal happiness. None of it equals like joy and happiness and fulfillment. They're all trying to fulfill something because they think that's what's going to make them happy.
Yeah.
And think that this is going to, and it's very Shakespearean in that sense. Like, their wants are so deep, are so deeply rooted, but why they want it is so complicated. And there's so many layers to why they want it. So that is something I really enjoyed about watching the show. Is I do feel like it's modern Shakespeare at its finest, at its like highest class. Like, the writing in it is gorgeous, the way it's shot is beautiful, but also like just the characters, like, you do end up feeling for them, which is shocking. You know, never would I ever think in 100 years that you'd be like, yeah, like, Maggie, there's this show about the people in the 1%, and like it's all about like who gets the company next. But it's really realistic also to like how like capitalism is so deeply rooted in power. There's so many theatrical elements to it, and that's why I love it so much. The way that it's shot as well is they do like long form takes. So they'll do like one of the scenes in the final season was 20 pages long, which is unheard of. Usually they shoot 1 to 2 pages. So to have a 20-minute full on like shot, no stopping, is crazy. That's a third of the episode. And it was done incredibly beautifully done.
Wow.
I also think like the wit in it is really genius. Like, the way that they can it's funny that we were talking about chosen family, but there's something crazy about like real, like having a real family and like grappling with your love for them, but also like the hurt that they can do to you.
Yeah.
And the way that this family hurts each other is crazy. The way that they can just really go in on each other and the way that they're so nasty to one another. It's really interesting to watch. That's the only like way to describe it is I don't know, you know, they all need a lot of therapy to say the least.
Yeah. Something that came up for me I've never seen the show, so I'm strictly basing it off of like what you just explained to me, like the psychology behind it all is like the Rogerian view of like the real self versus the ideal self and the grappling of that, or like I typically say like the perceived self versus the authentic self, like what you want people to perceive you as versus like your authentic self. And it sounds like the characters grapple with that a lot.
Yes.
Like their ideal self is, I guess, would be the ones who end up getting the company, gain their father's acceptance. They're the favorite. Like that's the ideal, the one in power, where maybe their real self is really like something completely different. And that's where the struggles come in and the like you said, the oldest like struggles with their mental health, and the daughter
like the daughter Shiv, she gets married in the first season and to Tom, the guy who's kind of like she makes fun of and she clearly doesn't love. But you know she's doing it for that image. Like she needs to have a husband to be able to run the company because she's a female. But I think in her ideal world, she would just run the fucking show. But because she's in this waspy, like very much masculine run business, like she knows what she needs to do to get there. And she can't be her authentic self because of her gender and like and it's like Kendall, the oldest, he wants the power to run the company and wants to do that, but I think at the end of it all he just wants his father's love, and that's like what's really sad is he really never gets that approval.
It sounds like the other one is like very grandiose and very like bold and using like sex and power and like, you know, his just grandioseness of himself to like mask maybe what is really going on inside.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like
it's interesting.
Yeah, I read some, like I researched some like character psychology of the characters. I don't know these people. So this is what I researched, that the features of the cast are complex characters, each with their own motivation, fears, and flaws. Whether it's Kendall's struggle with addiction and loyalty, Shiv's quest for independence and validation, or Roman's insecurities masked by boldness, the show provides ample material for psychological examination. The characters' actions are driven by a mix of ambition, insecurity, and the need for validation, making for compelling viewing.
Yes, that's exactly it. That's such a beautiful way of describing it. There's also an older son. There's the older son from a different marriage, Connor, that's kind of like just aloof and like very much, you know, his dad doesn't care about him and it's really sad. I think there's just so many like different levels of relationship and like how complicated family can be, but also how complicated money can be. And also when you're a family, like swaying the politics of like the nation. There's so many parts in the show where these characters are picking the next president.
Wow.
And it's like, damn, this is how our world works.
Yeah, how much media sways the way people view our leaders and the way our politics are run.
Yeah. And Shiv is, and that's like another thing why like Shiv feels almost maybe she wants to start her own thing because she's more liberal than a lot of them. And a lot of, and Kieran Culkin's character Roman is very like, he wants to pick like the sleaziest president, you know, to run.
Mm-hmm.
But it's crazy. It's like, it shows like the ins and outs of like how the rich can pull ties over thousands and thousands and thousands of people. You know, I think about Schitt's Creek. I think about Arrested Development. These rich families that are like about to get or have gotten their money taken away or get their money taken away, and they're the super rich. But I don't think I've seen like the complexity of like the whole like political poles of everything as well. They all deal with pressure is very interesting as well. Like the mental health of like dealing with pressure. Crazy that I empathize with these characters in the end when you think about it. Mm-hmm. But you're like, holy shit, the pressure they're under is crazy.
Yeah, like another thing that came up when you're talking about it was morality. Like where there's just no like foundation of morals. And that's the basis of like what humans need. That's why it's so important to have a parent or a guardian who instills morals and teaches lessons and teaches rules and doesn't just like, you can't just live your life with no morals. And like, that's why they're backstabbing one another and their mind is just focused on power because there's no morals.
That is the tea, Tyler. That is the tea. And what's crazy is like being born into that. Mm-hmm. What's horrible is that they were born into like just no morals already and they were born into conflict that has been happening, right? You know? Because
who's the hero? Like, is there only villains? Is there only villains in the show? Like, is there anyone who has morals who's like more like the hero in the story?
No, that's the thing. They're all like that. There's Greg, who's a cousin. He's this young cousin, second cousin removed. Like, so cousin Greg is kind of like this kid who's working at this theme park and living this sucky life in the first episode. And his mom's like, well, just go to New York City. Go talk to your great uncle. See if they can get you a job. See if they could get you a job. And he gets a job. And it's like he's working for this job. And it just shows like the nepotism.
Yeah.
And then you're also seeing like the lens that he's seeing it through, where he's seeing like, this is fucked up. But like what other, like, I'm not going to go and work as a costume character at a theme park again.
Yeah.
Like I have money now. I'm going to these crazy rich parties. Like I'm seeing things, but he's like also really dopey and just kind of stupid. Like, but you see like a lot of like, I feel like his lens is the lens that like we can all see things through. Like see he sees the issues. But he's not doing anything to stop it because he can't. Mm-hmm. He's not in there. And everyone's always like, shut up, Greg. So poor Greg. But yeah. So it's interesting. Like there's a lot of like question. I always like left it like asking myself questions. You know, I always left the show feeling like I also just again like it's kind of the opposite of what I feel about Pose. Like these actors are bringing so much to a role that is so foreign to them, right? Yeah. This 1% type of character, but they're making it so believable in such a good performance and such an unbelievable performance. Like that it makes me empathize with them. Like, that's also why I admire it so much, is I admire that these actors can go somewhere that like is just out of reach for them. So it's like very and make it so realistic and real. And that's also has to do with the writing as well. The writing is brilliant.
Yeah.
It gets you surprisingly sucked in. That's like the best way to describe it, because I started watching it on a whim, like when I had COVID, I think.
I gotta watch it. I really do have to watch it.
I think you should. I think like you just, oh my gosh, I think you would have a field day with the oldest son, Kendall, and the others. And it's just really also, I mean, I do have to say, like, it's funny as hell. Like it's a kind of like dramedy that I really think is like well done. It's hard to do those right. So I really love the writing of it. So yeah, 2 great shows.
2 amazing shows. Yes, I love this little moment, this segment.
This act and analyze moment, because we were acting and analyzing these shows.
Yes, we are.
Welcome to Maggie's Media Munchies, where I am going to give you something to pair these 2 lovely shows that we talked about today. And all of our segments are going to be based on these 2 shows. So I hope you guys enjoy, because if you haven't seen it, now you guys have something to munch on while you see it. So for Pose, I'm going to have you guys have some nice cake pops. Cake pops are really easy to make. They're really, really simple. I specifically would love for them to be disco ball themed cake pops. I think it's a really fun show to watch with your friends. Tyler and I watched it separately, but like we always texted about it together. I think we watched the first couple episodes. You introduced it to me, so I watched the first couple episodes with you. But it's just a really fun thing to watch with friends. So get your friends together, make some. I think cake pops are such a fun, sweet treat to have with friends. I think they're so easy. Literally, you just mash up cake and like icing together, and then you put them in the fridge and then cover them in chocolate. Hello. So I think that's a really good thing to have with that. And I also think some like a nice like Cosmo is great too, because we're in New York City, the city of the Cosmo, watching Pose. I think that would be just such a great thing. Because the ballroom scenes are all disco balls and they're all like pretty sparkly drinks. So that'll just definitely get you in the Pose move. And for Succession, what you all need to have to watch that show is a big shrimp cocktail. Shrimp cocktail is actually super easy to make, but I definitely recommend eating some shrimp cocktail and just having a nice horseradishy sauce with it. That's delish. The shrimp cocktail sauce is so good. And that I think can be paired with like a nice sparkling champagne, like a crisp champagne, a bougie, because bougie champagne, if you guys buy like expensive champagne, it's actually like really good. Like I don't like regular champagne, but you get me an expensive champagne, I'd be down in that bottle. I'd be down in the bottle.
I don't think I've ever tried it.
With shrimp cocktail. I think I've had like expensive champagne once, like at an event in New York, I think. And those are my media munchies. So munch, munch, munch.
Munch, munch, munch. Yum, yum, yum.
Yum, yum, yum.
Welcome to Tyler's Take Care of Yourself tip, where I give you a tip to take care of yourself. So, like Maggie said, these tips are going to be based off of the 2 shows we talked about today. So my first take care of yourself tip for pose is, this is my favorite activity to do before a night out with my girls, is putting on your favorite outfit, something you feel so confident in, something so fun. Put on your favorite makeup, put the jewels on your face, do your hair, get feeling confident. Just look and feel your best self, and put on your favorite song. Specifically, I like to do either Heated by Beyonce or Break My Soul, Queen's remix.
Yes.
So good. Those are my two favorite songs to do runway to. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to line up and you're going to put the song on and you're going to take turns, everyone doing the catwalk and posing and strutting and dancing and clapping and cheering for yourself and your friends. It's the best thing to do before a night out. It really just gets you feeling your best self.
Yes.
So I definitely recommend doing that. And for Succession, my take care of yourself tip is gratitude journaling. Very different from the post take care of yourself tip, but life is about balance. So
yes,
because how Succession is so based on power and privilege and all of that, gratitude journals are important to recognize what you're grateful for, recognize privilege, recognizing what you have and being grateful for what you have. So a good way I usually recommend to do it is having like 3 things that at the end of your day, writing in your journal 3 things that you're grateful for from that day. Or you can do it based on month, year, however you want to do it. So walk your runway with your friends, write your gratitude journals, and take care of yourselves.
Yes, it's so good because no one in that show ever gave gratitude to anything they had. And they had everything.
I bet. I can only imagine.
Take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself.
Welcome to Cravings Corner, where we're going to be talking about what we're craving based on these 2 shows. I'm really craving from Succession. I'm just craving like another show that can put out a piece of art like that again. I'm really craving something that is so juicy and complicated and also hysterical at the same time, and something as dark as that show being as funny as it was, I think is really interesting. I love shows that where the director encourages the actors to improv, and there was a lot of like improv in the show Succession. So that's something that I'm really craving. But in like a dramedy, you don't see that. You always see improv in a comedy like The Office or even Arrested Development. There was a lot of comedy there too. And and Parks and Rec and all that. But in a show like this, to be able to improv the way that they did was, I think, really honestly so challenging and something that I really am craving from another show.
Yeah.
Because you don't see a lot of like dramatic comedy with that's improv.
Yeah.
So that's really incredible. Something I'm craving is something like that. And then for Pose, I'm just craving a night of dancing. I'm craving a night with disco balls everywhere, light up floors, and where I'm just dancing the night away. And I know that's going to be so soon because we're going to be in Europe so soon, and it's going to be incredible. But yeah, I'm craving a big night of just dancing with myself and empowering myself and my body to be living my truth.
Mm-hmm. Love that. I crave that all the time, all day, every day.
Yes, me too.
Yes. So what I'm craving is for Succession. I'm craving the rich gang text. Taxing the 1% is what I'm craving.
Yes.
Yeah. Tax the rich. Tax those people.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm craving that for Succession.
Yes.
You don't really have to go too deep into that. That speaks for itself.
That speaks for itself. That's a good one. I'm craving that too. I switched mine.
And for Pose, I'm craving Pride because it's Pride Month.
Yes.
Happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride.
We are going to be celebrating Pride this Sunday. So a couple days before the episode comes out. So you'll get your craving will be curbed with Sunday being Pride because we're going to dance the night away in the Berry and Asbury, and it's going to be so fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm craving Pride. I'm craving acceptance. I'm craving love. And I hope you all are too.
Yeah.
Hey.
I love that. That was so good. I'm so excited for Pride Month.
Yes, I'm so excited.
It has to be better than May.
It will be. It will 100% be. This is the last day of May. May was difficult.
Yes.
And we're going to roll right into June, to Pride Month, to the month of us going to Europe.
Yes.
And summer.
And summer.
And it's all up from here. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok, Act and Analyze Podcast. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Like, share, review. Give us all the love.
Yeah.
And we love you.
We love you.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye. Bye.